It was a big, fancy Christmas party at Grandma May's house. The place was packed with family, laughing, chatting, and opening gifts left and right. Everyone was busy showing off their presents, except one person, Elijah. Elijah was quiet. He sat at the edge of the room, watching as his cousins tore through brightly wrapped packages. He didn't complain or ask for anything. This wasn't the first time he'd been ignored. Grandma May, the center of attention, barely noticed him at all. When it was finally his turn, Elijah stood up slowly and walked over to Grandma May. In his hands was a small red box. Nothing fancy, but neat and carefully wrapped. Everyone stopped and looked. Grandma May took the box, curious. She opened it and suddenly let out a scream. The whole room froze. People stared at her, shocked. Sasha, Elijah's mother, didn't move a muscle. She knew what was inside. It was something Ryan, her husband, had put together months ago, a secret that was about to change everything. Sasha married into a family that was, well, loud. They were close-knit, always talking, always planning, and everything had its place. At the very top of that family was May, her mother-in-law. May wasn't just any grandmother. She was the queen of the household. She ran the holidays, controlled the family group chats, and even had a say in what the grandkids were named. At first, Sasha admired May. She seemed warm and caring, the kind of woman who held everyone together. But over time, Sasha began to see something else beneath that warmth, something colder. May's power wasn't just about love or tradition. It was about control. May made sure everyone knew her rules. If you wanted to be part of the family's big events, you had to follow them. There were expectations about how you dressed, what you said, even how you behaved around May herself. Sasha learned quickly that disagreeing or stepping out of line wasn't an option. It wasn't just the holidays or the names. May ran everything like a well-oiled machine, and anyone who didn't fit her vision was quietly pushed aside. Sasha noticed how May's smile sometimes didn't reach her eyes. It was like a mask, a way to hide the sharp edges beneath. At first, Sasha thought maybe it was just May's way of showing love, but as the months went by, that love felt more like emotional ice, cold, hard, and unforgiving. Sasha tried to find a way to connect, but May's rules made it hard. The family was May's kingdom, and everyone else was expected to follow her lead without question. And if you didn't, well, you learned quickly what that meant. Elijah is Sasha's only child, her whole world. He's not loud or rowdy like some of his cousins. He's quiet, thoughtful, the kind of kid who notices small things. He loves drawing, building tiny models out of toothpicks, and sitting alone with a book while the other kids wrestle or yell across the room. From the beginning, May didn't take to him. There was no stepchild drama, no complicated family tree to blame. Elijah was her biological grandson, plain and simple, but May kept her distance. She'd smile at the other grandkids, pull them into hugs, slip them candy or whisper my favorite like it was a family joke. But with Elijah, she barely looked at him. Sasha noticed it early on. At first, she tried to brush it off. Maybe May just didn't know how to connect with a quieter child. Maybe Elijah needed more time to come out of his shell. But time passed, and nothing changed. In fact, it got worse. One night, Sasha asked May directly, "Is something wrong with how Elijah behaves around you?" May didn't even hesitate. "He's just different." That was it. No explanation, no warmth, just those 3 words. He's just different. And the way she said it, it didn't feel like concern. It felt like rejection. Sasha tried to fix it. She brought Elijah to more family events, encouraged him to speak up, pushed him to engage with his cousins. But the more she tried, the more invisible he became in May's eyes. He'd show her a drawing he made, and she'd barely glance at it. At birthday parties, she'd gush over everyone else's cake or outfit, never his. At Christmas, she'd forget to call his name until someone reminded her. One Sunday during the family's group prayer, Sasha heard every grandchild's name spoken aloud, except Elijah's. Not once, not even in passing. Her heart dropped, and she looked over at May, eyes closed, hands folded, like nothing was missing. Elijah didn't say much about it. He rarely did. He just grew quieter around May. His drawings got darker. He stopped bringing them to family dinners. And Sasha started to notice a new look in his eyes. Not sadness exactly, but something quieter, resignation. It was the look of a child who had already stopped hoping. It was last Christmas, the kind of celebration where everything looked picture perfect, tree glowing, carols humming softly in the background, food lined up in warm trays. May had done her usual magic, as everyone called it, but Sasha knew better. She knew the magic had cracks, especially when it came to her son. One by one, the grandkids sat in a circle on the carpet, tearing into their gifts. Each package had a name tag written in May's careful cursive. To my little star, to Grandma's princess, to my champ. Every box was thoughtful. A personalized art kit for Kenzie, a monogrammed hoodie for James, a silver charm bracelet for little Ava with initials of all her siblings. And then there was Elijah. He unwrapped his gift slowly, carefully like he always did, only to find a plain grey scarf. The tag still stuck to it, like it had been picked up in a rush. It wasn't wrapped the same way. No glittery paper, no curled ribbon, just tape and silence. The tag read, "To Sasha's boy." That was it. No name, no love grandma, just a label, like he was someone May had to remember at the last minute. Elijah blinked once, then smiled weakly. He said thank you, like he always did. He folded the scarf gently and tucked it into his lap. No one said anything. No one noticed how his shoulders tensed, or how his eyes dropped to the floor. But Sasha saw everything. She didn't say a word that night, but she couldn't sleep. While Ryan snored lightly beside her, Sasha lay awake, staring at the ceiling, going over every moment of that day. The scarf, the missing name, the way Elijah didn't even seem surprised. It hit her like a slow ache. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a pattern, a choice. Love was being handed out to every other child like candy, but when it came to Elijah, it was being withheld like something precious he hadn't earned. Sasha thought about confronting May, but what would she say? That her son deserved better, that she noticed how he was always left out. She wasn't ready for the fallout, not yet. Instead, she walked quietly into Elijah's room and found him awake, curled under his blanket. The scarf was draped over his chair. "Cold?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, Mum, I'm okay." But he wasn't, and Sasha knew it. She sat beside him for a while, brushing his hair back, saying nothing, just being there. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than anything. And that night, Sasha made herself a quiet promise. Next time, she wouldn't let it slide. Ryan wasn't the kind of man who jumped to conclusions. He liked to keep the peace, especially when it came to family. For years, Sasha had carried the quiet pain of watching Elijah be sidelined, and Ryan, while supportive, often tried to smooth things over. "She doesn't mean it like that," he'd say. "Maybe she's just old-fashioned. Maybe Elijah reminds her of someone." But the excuses started wearing thin. It was the little things Ryan began to notice, things Sasha had stopped pointing out because she was tired of repeating herself. May never called Elijah on his birthday, not once. There was always a reason. "Oh, I thought it was next week," or "I sent a card, didn't you get it?" But somehow, the other grandkids never got missed. At family dinners, May hugged everyone, tight, loud, showy hugs. Except Elijah. She'd pat his shoulder if he stood close enough, then move on like he was part of the furniture. And sleepovers. They were a regular thing for the other kids. May would take 3 or 4 at once, making cookies, building forts in the living room. But every time Elijah asked, the answer was the same. Next time, sweetie, next time never came. One evening, after yet another gathering where Elijah left early and quiet, Ryan sat beside Sasha in the living room, rubbing his forehead. "She does it on purpose," he said. Sasha looked at him, surprised but not shocked. She had waited years to hear those words. Ryan nodded slowly. I saw how he looked at her today, like he was hoping, just hoping. For a second she'd look at him the way she looks at the others. Sasha said nothing. "I wanted to say something," Ryan added, "but what would it even change?" He stood, walked into their bedroom, and pulled something from under the bed, a small square box. It was red, the same shade Elijah used in his paintings for feeling big things. Ryan held it for a moment, then opened it. Inside were a few photographs, a folded piece of paper, and a sealed envelope. He'd put it together months ago, just in case. "If she does it again," he said quietly, "I'll say something. Or maybe he will." He walked into the closet and placed the box on the top shelf, behind a stack of winter clothes. Somewhere out of sight, but not forgotten. Sasha didn't ask what was inside. She didn't need to. She could feel it. The shift happening between silence and truth. Later that night, as she checked on Elijah, she found him asleep, his blanket curled around him, the old grey scarf folded neatly by his bed, still there, still present. She sat down beside him for a moment, her hand resting gently on his back. The silence between them wasn't cold or distant. It was full of everything they weren't saying yet. But someday, that silence would break. And when it did, it would speak volumes. It happened 6 months before Christmas. The house was quiet that afternoon. Rain tapped lightly on the windows. Sasha had made Elijah's favourite, grilled cheese with tomato soup, and they all sat at the table like any other day. But there was a certain weight in the room, not heavy like anger, just serious. After lunch, Ryan asked Elijah to sit with them in the living room. Sasha sat on one side of the couch. Ryan placed something between them, a small red box. It looked simple, nothing flashy. But Elijah, ever observant, noticed how gently his dad handled it, like it mattered. Ryan took a breath. "Hey buddy," he said, soft and steady. "We want to talk to you about something important." Elijah's eyes flicked between them. Ryan continued. "This box has a few things in it. Some photos, a letter, a few papers. Stuff about you. Stuff about family." Elijah furrowed his brow. "What kind of stuff?" Ryan looked at Sasha, then back at Elijah. "Stuff about how much you mean to us. About who's been there for you and who hasn't." Elijah's fingers hovered over the lid but didn't open it. Ryan reached over and placed his hand on Elijah's. "You don't have to read it right now. This isn't about making a scene or proving anything. This is about you having something to hold on to, something that reminds you of your place in this family, even if some people forget it." Elijah was quiet for a while. Sasha leaned in. "Sweetheart, we know it hurts. We see it. Every time Grandma May forgets your name or gives you those empty gifts. We see it, and we're so sorry you have to go through that." Elijah looked down. "It's okay." Ryan's voice was gentle but firm. It's not okay, but we're not going to force anything. That's why we're giving you the choice. You decide when to open the box. You decide if you want to show it to her or not. That part is up to you." Elijah finally reached out and took the box. He didn't open it. He just held it, sitting quietly between his parents. After a few moments, he whispered, "Can I keep it in my room?" "Of course," Sasha said, already brushing a tear away. And from that day on, the red box stayed on Elijah's shelf, right next to his sketchbook. He never talked about it, never asked questions, but sometimes, when the family ignored him again, or when May made one of her icy comments, Sasha would see him glance at the box, just a glance. But it said everything. It was his anchor, a quiet promise that he mattered, that he was seen. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, but it was there, waiting, for the moment when silence became too loud to ignore. It's Christmas again, the kind May likes. Big, bright, and carefully curated. The tree stands tall in the corner, dressed in gold and silver, not a single ornament out of place. The dining table sparkles with polished glassware and folded napkins shaped like angels. Soft carols play in the background, and laughter echoes from the kitchen. It's the kind of Christmas that looks perfect on the outside. Elijah steps into the room, holding a small gift in both hands. It's wrapped neatly in brown paper, tied with a red ribbon, not store-bought, handmade. Inside is a picture frame he crafted himself, wooden, sanded smooth, painted with soft watercolors. He'd drawn tiny holly leaves in the corners, and in the center was a photo, the one of him as a baby, curled up on May's lap, both of them smiling. Sasha had found it in an old album. Elijah thought May might like to have it. He walks in slowly. No one notices at first. The other kids are busy unwrapping massive boxes, bright with sparkly bows. Laughter, shouting, squeals of delight as gift after gift gets pulled out. Gaming consoles, designer shoes, gadgets that light up and beep. May sits in her usual chair, a warm drink in hand, clapping and praising each child loudly. "Oh, look at that. Just what you wanted, baby. You're so spoiled." Then Elijah steps up, holding out his small gift. "Merry Christmas, Grandma," he says softly. She glances at him, barely a second. "Oh, thank you," she mumbles, distracted, as one of the other kids tears open another gift. She doesn't open his, doesn't ask what's inside, doesn't notice the tiny, Love Elijah tag handwritten in the corner. He stands there a moment longer, waiting, hoping maybe she'll turn to him. Maybe this time she'll remember. She doesn't. So Elijah walks over to a side table near the window and gently places the box down. He smooths the ribbon one last time, then steps back. No one sees it. Not really. Sasha watches from across the room, her heart quietly breaking. She sees how he doesn't frown, doesn't cry. He just sits on the arm of the couch, hands folded, eyes distant. He's used to this now. And Ryan, he notices too. He reaches over and squeezes Sasha's hand. She squeezes back. The music keeps playing. The room keeps buzzing with joy and chatter. But the frame Elijah made, the one with his tiny baby face and May's smiling eyes, it stays unopened on the side table, forgotten in the perfect room. Gift time. The floor is already covered in wrapping paper and ribbon. Laughter bounces off the walls as the cousins pass around boxes, bags, and giant glittery bows. One by one, May hands out presents, each more thoughtful than the last. "Here, baby. I know you wanted these sneakers," she says, beaming at one grandson. "For you, sweetheart. Custom makeup brushes. Just like the ones from that influencer you love," she gushes to a teenage granddaughter. The kids squeal, hug her, pose for pictures. Everything is curated, specific, thoughtful, expensive. And then there's one gift left at her feet. A small, awkwardly wrapped box, creased at the corners. No bow, no ribbon. May picks it up and looks around, as if pretending she forgot whose it was. Finally, her eyes land on Elijah, sitting quietly near the edge of the couch. "Oh," she says, a touch too loud. "Didn't want you to feel left out." She walks over and hands him the box, like it's something she just remembered from the trunk of her car. No eye contact, no smile. There's no card, just a sticker tag on the side. The same words as last year. "To Sasha's boy." Elijah stares at it. It's a clearance store toy, something cheap and generic, not age appropriate, not thoughtful, not even wrapped with care, just something. He doesn't open it. He looks up at May. His jaw tightens. He swallows once. Then he slowly stands. The room begins to quiet, just a little. Not fully, but enough. Sasha holds her breath. Ryan leans forward. Elijah walks across the room, silent, calm. No drama, no shaking voice, just purpose. He reaches into his backpack, pulls out the small red box, and places it at May's feet. "I wasn't going to say anything," he says, voice steady. "But Dad told me to give this to you if you ever forgot me again." May blinks, confused. "What is this?" He doesn't answer. He just walks back to his seat and sits beside Sasha, his hands now empty. May stares at the box. The room falls completely silent. Sasha closes her eyes, her heart pounding. Ryan doesn't move. He's watching May carefully. The red box sits between her shoes, unassuming, simple, but heavy in all the ways that matter. No one speaks. Not yet, because something has changed. The boy who used to wait to be seen has now made himself unmistakably visible. Elijah walks to May and places the red box gently at her feet. "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever forgot me again," he says. His voice doesn't shake. It's calm, steady, grown. And just like that, he turns and walks away. He doesn't wait for her to ask what's inside. He doesn't even look back. The room falls completely silent. You could hear the mantel clock ticking or the soft hum of the heater in the wall. But no one moves. No one says a word. May just stares at the box, like it's something she doesn't recognize, something she's afraid to touch. Finally, slowly, she bends down and lifts the lid. Right on top is a photo, neatly framed. It's old, but still clear. It's her, May, holding baby Elijah. She's smiling, laughing even. She looks younger, softer, before the coldness, before the distance, before she started calling him Sasha's boy. She holds the photo for a long second, then she sets it aside. Beneath it is a sheet of paper, legal size, thick, crisp. Adoption papers, signed by Ryan, years ago, stamped by a judge. It's all official. All this time, she had treated Elijah like a visitor in the family, but here it was, black and white. He wasn't a guest. He was family, fully, legally, forever. Her hands pause when she sees the last item, a folded letter. She opens it. Ryan's handwriting is neat, sharp, full of weight. "Mom, if you're reading this, it means Elijah gave you the box. I told him to, because I've been watching, and I've stayed quiet too long. He is my son, not just Sasha's. Mine. You were there when I signed the papers. You held him when he was a baby. You said you loved him, but somewhere along the way, you stopped showing it. No birthday calls, no sleepovers, no real hugs. And I stayed silent because I didn't want to make waves. But silence helped the hurt grow. So let me be clear now. He is your grandson. If you can't love him, you don't love us. This is your last chance to see him for who he is, or lose him completely. May's hands shake. She looks up, searching the room for someone, anyone, to speak for her, to defend her, to tell her this was too harsh, that she didn't mean it. But no one says a thing. Some of the kids glance toward Elijah, curious, confused. A cousin quietly leans over to look at the photo still resting on the coffee table. An aunt shifts in her seat. The air is thick. May breathes in sharply. Her mouth opens, but no words come. There's nothing left to say. The boy she brushed aside has made himself seen. Not loud, not angry, just real, present, unavoidable. And the red box in her lap, it didn't just hold a photo, some papers or a letter. It held a mirror, and what she saw in it was all the years she chose not to see him at all. The letter is blunt. He is your grandson. If you can't love him, you don't love us. This is your last chance to see him for who he is, or lose him completely. May reads those final lines over and over, as if the meaning might change if she stares long enough, but it doesn't. It stays sharp, director, final. Her fingers tremble slightly, but her pride flares hotter than her shame. She suddenly stands, her voice slicing through the silence. How dare you pull something like this? On Christmas? What kind of mother uses her own son like a message? Everyone stiffens. She turns to Sasha, eyes blazing. You think this is love, making me look like a villain in my own house? Sasha doesn't even blink. She sits still, composed, hands folded in her lap. You did that all by yourself, she says quietly. May scoffs. I gave that boy presents. I included him. I never treated him badly. Ryan steps forward, voice calm but firm. You called him Sasha's boy. In every card, every gift tag. Not once did you say, my grandson. May spins toward him. That's what he is. No, Ryan says, his voice steady now. He's our son. Yours too, if you wanted him. May shakes her head. This is ridiculous. He's different. You can't expect me to pretend I feel the same way about all the kids. Sasha's jaw tightens, but her voice remains soft. We didn't ask you to pretend. We asked you to love him. You chose distance. May's voice cracks. You think I don't care? That I don't have feelings? Sasha stands, her eyes locked on May's. I think you had a choice. Every birthday, every Christmas, every hug you didn't give, every time you gave him something with no thought, no name, just a tag that reminded him he didn't belong. May starts to speak, but Sasha cuts gently through the moment. He gave you something today, something personal, something honest. And what did you do? Her voice breaks just slightly. You looked past it. May doesn't answer. Ryan looks toward the red box still sitting on the table. That wasn't just a letter, he says. That was our line. If you can't cross it, you don't get to stand with us anymore. The air in the room feels heavier now. May slowly sits back down, the letter still open in her lap. Around her, the family is quiet, watching, processing. And from the hallway, Elijah watches too, not with hope, not with anger, just clarity. She sees him. She really sees him now. And for the first time, she knows he won't wait to be loved anymore. They leave the party in silence. No slamming doors, no dramatic exits. Just quiet steps across the porch, into the car, and away from the glowing house, filled with laughter that no longer belongs to them. Elijah sits in the back seat, holding nothing. He didn't take any gifts. He didn't even look back. Sasha glances at him in the rearview mirror, expecting to see tears, but there aren't any. He's just calm. After a few minutes, he speaks softly. Do you think she read all of it? Ryan, eyes on the road, nods once. Every word. Elijah leans his head against the window. Okay, that's all he says. No questions, no begging, no what-ifs. Just okay. And somehow, that single word says everything. In the days that follow, Elijah changes, not in a loud, obvious way. He still draws quietly in his room, still listens to music with his headphones on, still hums under his breath when he thinks no one's listening. But the way he carries himself, is different. He doesn't walk with slumped shoulders anymore. He doesn't try to make himself smaller when they visit family friends. He speaks up more at school. He volunteers to help his art teacher clean up after class. One evening, Sasha finds him repainting an old picture frame, the same kind he gave to May. She sits beside him at the table. "New project?" she asks. He nods, dipping a brush into blue paint. "Yeah, it's for someone who'll actually hang it up." Sasha smiles, but her heart twists a little. She touches his arm gently. "I'm proud of you, you know." "I know," he says, and this time, he believes it. Ryan notices it too, the way Elijah laughs more freely now, how he doesn't hesitate when someone asks about his family. He says, "My mum and dad," without flinching, no longer wondering if someone will question it. He's stopped trying to fit into someone else's version of family, because now he knows he was never the problem. May doesn't call, there's no apology, no message, no dramatic follow-up, and Elijah doesn't ask. He no longer waits to be invited, accepted, or noticed. Instead, he walks taller, because he finally understands something powerful. He doesn't need to chase love that runs away from him. He just needs to stand where he's already loved. And in that space, he grows. May never calls, no apology, no text, no attempt to explain, just silence. But about a week later, a small padded envelope arrives in their mailbox. It's addressed to Elijah in slightly crooked handwriting. No return address, but Sasha recognizes it right away. It's May's niece, Tessa, just 16, but always kinder than the adults around her. Elijah opens it at the kitchen table, careful not to tear the paper. Inside is a silver charm bracelet, the kind that jingles lightly when you move your wrist. It has one charm already attached, a small paintbrush, delicate and detailed. Tucked underneath is a handwritten note on lined notebook paper. "Grandma was wrong. You're my cousin forever. You've always been. I saw your picture frame. It was beautiful. Can you make one for me? Love." Tessa Elijah doesn't say anything right away. He just holds the bracelet in his palm for a long moment, watching how the light hits it. Then he smiles, just a little. Sasha watches from the sink, her heart swelling with something she hasn't felt in a long time. Peace. After he goes to his room, she walks upstairs and opens the top drawer of her dresser. Inside, nestled between a few scarves and her wedding ring box, is the red box, still perfectly square, still holding everything that changed them. She doesn't keep it for the pain it once carried. She keeps it for what it represents. The moment her son stopped waiting to be seen and chose to be known. She brushes her fingers over the lid, remembering that Christmas, the stillness in the room, the way Elijah stood taller than he ever had before. She thinks about all the years he shrank himself, stayed quiet, took whatever scraps were offered, and she thinks about that day when he said, "Dad told me to give this to you if you ever forgot me again," and placed the truth at May's feet like a gift too heavy to carry any longer. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even anger. It was freedom. Since then, their home has changed. Lighter, warmer. They don't talk about May much. And when they do, it's not with bitterness. It's with clarity. Sometimes, love doesn't come from where you expect it. Sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones who wound the deepest. But sometimes, healing starts with simply choosing to stop shrinking. Sasha sees it now in Elijah's art. Bolder strokes, brighter colors. He paints with the kind of confidence that says, "I don't need to be invited in. I belong where I stand." He even makes that picture frame for Tessa, with her name carved into the side and tiny stars painted in gold. They get a photo of her wearing the bracelet a few days later, smiling like she's proud to wear something from him. She is. And for Elijah, that's enough. No performance, no pretending, just real connection, real family, the kind you build, not the kind you beg for. Late one evening, Sasha sits beside Ryan on the porch. The sun is setting, the sky turning soft and orange. "He's okay," she says, mostly to herself. Ryan nods. "Yeah, he is." Then she adds quietly, "And so am I." She means it, because what Elijah taught them, without ever raising his voice, without any big speech, is this. Sometimes love doesn't look like hugs and holidays. Sometimes it's a red box in a quiet room, a letter you never wanted to write, a boy choosing not to disappear. And sometimes that's the loudest love of all. Hey besties, thanks for sticking around till the very end. This one was a roller coaster, right? If you felt it in your chest like we did, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Love you deep. See you in the next one. Bye.